Our body thinks it's fighting a bear, but it may just be your boss shouting at you. Probably 99% of people are stuck in this fight and flight response. All the water you consume each day is probably one of the biggest toxin inputs to the average person. Pretty much now we know it's brain, heart, and gut all have a neural activity. So fixing that water is a pretty special one.
You guys, if you've been hanging around for long enough, know I'm a massive fan of hydrogen and the benefits. And I've got Josh from Hydrogen Health here joining me today. Hey, Josh.
Hello. How are you?
Thank you for being. I'm great.
Yeah.
How are you?
Yeah, really well. Exciting to dip into what we have to offer, in many sort of breakthroughs and just general wellness, understanding water and what we can bring to it. Yeah.
Love it. I mean, ever since talking about hydrogen, my audience has had a lot of questions, and you are the person to answer these questions because I know you absolutely love nerding out on the science of all of this. But I would want to know straight off the bat, first and foremost, what drew you to hydrogen?
Well, it's probably more water initially. So my background's in biomedical and electronic engineering, but I've always been quite interested in natural wellness. And as I progressed through that towards the end, which is normally hospital equipment and oxygen sensors and scanning and all that kind of very techie kind of hospital stuff, I also was fascinated by these natural systems of the way the world or the natural world engineers health into our cells, but, macroorganism, and just how incredibly complex it is. Yet the natural systems are there to allow for this ultimate state of wellness, and really coming to, as we evolve into a more electronic and advanced world, how can we maintain, balance and wellness with the earth and ourselves? And so that's kind of where that whole fascination came from, specifically into water initially, being this fourth phase of water. Jared Pollack from the US was an incredible scientist that showed huge advancements in this fourth phase of water, which is pretty much this form that our bodies require it. At the same time, how the hydrogen, or in this case molecular hydrogen, offers this powerful antioxidant. So these two in combination pretty much aim to replicate the way the natural water systems of the earth support us being mostly water. Most organ systems are kind of 60 to 70, getting up to 80%, but at the actual molecular level, because the H2O molecule is so small, we're actually looking at 99% water.
Really?
So because of the H2O is so small, proteins and other components are far larger, and they even constituent of water in them, from DNA as a backbone and all this kind of stuff. So water is just this huge thing that we're constructed so deeply with, and we don't really give it that value of quality and understanding that it probably deserves. And I guess that's what we're here for today.
Absolutely. So for the person listening, to help them understand, what would happen if they didn't have enough water?
I guess the big one is we've always just been you got to drink more water. And a lot of time people don't want to drink that much water because they're actually dehydrated. And I found it amazing that we actually require a clean water, so free of impurities, but it also needs the trace minerals and it needs the energization to structure it into this hexagonal form or exclusion zone, which is what Jared Pollack was showing, for our body to actually use the water.
So we could be, sorry to cut you off, but we could be drinking water from the tap.
And you're not getting the
it's
boost.
Not doing anything.
Your body, you still are hydrating from it, but your body has to use energy to utilize that water in a biological form. So it's a depletion each time.
Right.
And so whereas if we can take that standard tap water now that's been, taken from a stream for so long and now it's been chemically processed with chlorine and heavy metals and all these things that seem to trickle into our modern water supplies, it creates an oxidative effect on our body. And we can measure that through ORP, which is oxidation reduction potential. And essentially we want to gain electrons from this water.
Rewind a second. If we are pulling water from the tap, which is what a lot of people do for their drinking water, is it essentially, because we're talking about structured water, right? And that means that the body can utilize it in a more beneficial way, which we can dive into.
Yeah.
But is it it's therefore structured in a way that the body really can't use very well. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Once it's treated.
Yeah. So you got the
Yeah.
chemical impurities, which are an issue. But for example, something like alkaline water, which has gained quite a lot of attention moving from just your tap water, which is typically just alkaline minerals that have been added to a purified water. That water is still electrically dead. Your body will lose electrons as you absorb that water. And the ultimate form of water is something that has this electron density, so our body can absorb it, utilize it, and then essentially boost cellular function, which is what we're trying to get to, which is this cellular function increase.
Let's just look at the different types of water then. You have just your normal like unfiltered tap water.
Yep.
Then you'd have filtered water.
Yep.
Then you can have alkaline water.
Yep.
And then what we're really wanting to talk about today is hydrogen water or infused water. The difference between alkaline, you're saying that your body still has to utilize part of its own energy stores to get what it needs out of that, as opposed to hydrogen water. Tell us the difference.
Yeah, so like pretty much no impurities. So you've gone tap water to purified. You've got rid of the toxins, gone up to alkaline. There may be some alkaline minerals in there. But the problem is, even though there's a pH, which might be like 8 and it's better, that pH is showing that there's more hydrogen ions. And that actually, as you drink it, as soon as it hits the stomach acid, it's just pH buffered. It's like, you're getting some minerals, but there's no, it's not what the magic water of the earth is, which is mineralized, structured, and then pretty much energized. And the molecular hydrogen in this sense is providing that energization, which is donating electrons. So we got 2 hydrogen ions, and what happens is they're sharing. They have now this ability that is charge neutral and can jump over cell walls and blood-brain barriers and get into places where pretty much oxidative stress is occurring. And that's pretty much what we get down to the crux of modern chronic diseases, health issues, is there's an imbalance occurring, and potentially on many levels, physically, emotionally, and chemically. And if we can add antioxidants, but in the form of particularly this molecular hydrogen, it is donating electrons to wherever this free radical stress is occurring. And as it donates, it neutralizes that free radical and produces H2O as a byproduct. So it's this beautiful, clean, novel antioxidant that is quite profound in terms of medical science and what it can offer on a biological level. And I guess that's where I found huge interest in it, because it's non-toxic, which is a big one. And then it has 3 key sort of aspects which allow it to be unique. Being size, antioxidant.
A tiny.
So small. Of all the, on the periodic table, hydrogen's 1.
Right.
It's tiny. And then it's just 2 hydrogens bonded to each other. It's so small, it can get everywhere. And
whereas a regular
antioxidant can't. Like vitamin C will sit on the outside. You can't get intracellular. And that's a profound thing to be able to do that, because now that molecular hydrogen is being attracted to wherever the stress is going on in the cell, gets into the compartments where no one else could get in, and exhibits these antioxidant effects to pretty much cool off this free radical fire that's occurring. And that runs into a lot of things like mitochondrial health, genetic health, and essentially your cell or the mitochondria specifically, is an engine. So if that's running well, you've got energy, and like anyone, you need energy to be able to do great things. You need that cellular energy. And that's what this molecular hydrogen is providing. So it's quite powerful in the fact that it's so small.
So for the person that is just hearing this information for the first time, how are we getting the hydrogen into the water?
Pretty much we went from this research aspect of almost now about 1,500 peer-reviewed studies of hydrogen in all these different disease models. And then it's like, that's great to have this research, and a lot of applications of new stuff can be quite clunky sometimes. And we wanted to make sure that how can we integrate powerful natural health in a way that is like a day-to-day, don't have to think about it, super easy method. And that's essentially what our product range targets now, being the bottle, which you initially came along as your interest. And that gives you pretty much an on-the-go hydrogen generator with our membrane technology. It's not producing any byproducts and no toxic metal all this stuff is quite important in electrification of water. Pretty much what we're doing is taking the H2O, splitting it, and creating H2 and O2, being the hydrogen and oxygen gas. And this hydrogen gas, we know oxygen's wonderful. This hydrogen gas is this powerful antioxidant. And so we're pretty much infusing that. And we also have another aspect, which is infusing the trace minerals, because that's also very important to make this ideal form of water. And so that's what the aim of and design specs of the bottle is to create this form of water infused with the hydrogen, and it looks cool and it's a lovely day-to-day modern thing, but now you're giving yourself this powerful antioxidant on demand with your daily water intake.
I think I'd mentioned to you that I was quite interested. A lot of my listeners know that Geordie, my son, has cystic fibrosis, and I didn't actually ever look at the research or anything that was presented between hydrogen water and respiratory health. I didn't go there. I don't know why I didn't look into it at that point.
And it's reasonably new, It's
right? Geordie was so drawn to the drinking out of the bottle, and I just first of all thought it was such a novelty. Like I was like, he just likes it because it's a novelty. The more that I was like, there has to be something more to this, because he keeps on trying to find where the bottle is and drinking from it. And if you're thirsty, you don't care what you drink from, right? And then to realise that there's some great benefits with respiratory health, I was quite blown away by that.
Yeah.
And just how he was drawn to it. And obviously, him knowing innately that was really helping. Respiratory health is one thing that we definitely know, that has shown great outcomes. What are some of the other things that we've seen?
So respiratory health and the lungs being this incredible, sponge and system of perfusion of gases through the blood. And, you can create quite a lot of change quite quickly with what you breathe. You're breathing up to 20,000 litres a day of gas. Air.
That's crazy.
Of everything you consume, water's huge, but air's even bigger.
Because you're doing it all the time. You're not drinking all the time, but you're definitely hopefully you're breathing all the time.
Yeah, exactly. What was cool is we decided to integrate the hydrogen breathing system as well to try target this as a powerful way of infusing the benefits. And because you're achieving that gas hydrogen perfusion through the lungs and then saturating the blood within 15 minutes, now your whole circulatory system can exhibit these antioxidant effects. And that's kind of the second key aspect of what hydrogen offers is an antioxidant, but it's a very selective antioxidant. So the issue, like if you just flooded your body with antioxidant, you'd actually cause a little bit of an issue towards some oxidative species are actually healthy in our cellular processes.
Okay, so you'd be actually...
redox and all this stuff, but the molecular hydrogen targets the worst, being the hydroxyl radical, and it takes it out specifically and then creates water as the byproduct. And what's incredible is because it's finding wherever there's free radical damage, it goes to the isolated area. It's not like there's this lovely degree of selective, profound, specific targeting that's going on. And, you can go really deep into a lot of the research, but a lot of the research shows this incredible selective process occurring at a cellular level, and then its ability to protect other things. So, for example, by taking in molecular hydrogen, you actually upregulate and protect all your other antioxidants. So Q10, vitamin A, C, all these big dogs. Now you have this little guy that's actually protecting everyone else. And I found that particularly interesting in the way it can selectively protect and also access things where most others can't. So cell walls, because it's charge neutral, and also blood-brain barrier, where most things can't get over. So you're now exhibiting selective, and also within the nucleus. So you're getting antioxidant benefits occurring at a DNA level. And so, you're really coming into a selective, profound antioxidant. Hence, they call it a novel antioxidant due to its ability. And then the third feature of it is signal. And there was a really cool study done where they were giving a variety of people hydrogen water for a 6-month period. And then they came back 2 years later and they were still having pathway improvements because the hydrogen isn't just doing that free radical takeout, cool down the situation on a specific level. It's actually upregulating pathways, NF2 and various profound pathways are being supported long term.
Wow. So they actually found that even though they weren't using it anymore, that was still the case? Oh, my heavens.
It's a signal modulator.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. Gases, in this case, molecular hydrogen, it's quite intelligent in the way it's operating. And it makes sense as well because as the research has increased, there's a lot of molecules in our body that actually rely on this molecular hydrogen. So we've got within the gut microbiome, there is bacteriums that produce hydrogen gas when there's a healthy amount of fiber and the gut is well balanced. And from that, you're now seeing, healthy gut health promotes hormone production, gut-brain axis, everything, nervous system. So now you're taking that stress response off and you're getting a vagus nerve tone is improved, parasympathetic shift. And from that, your whole body now just chills out back to its natural state. And that's actually where healing, recovery, rejuvenation, cellular repair can occur. I found it really profound in terms of both the structured water side and the molecular hydrogen that yes, you're taking out the toxins. A lot of our products are trying to remove these impurities and stuff, but you're actually also boosting cellular health. So now you can actually cope with the stress because you can purify your air at home with a air purifier, but as soon as you step out onto the highway, it's a completely different environment. And so to be able to build up this cellular strength through something that is very selective and ultimately boosts the mitochondrial health and ATP production, you're preparing yourself for this modern world that has changed dramatically. I was also very interested in electromagnetics and, in terms of our environment, which isn't really thought of that much, the EMF environment, telephones, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, water quality, air quality, sound pollution, light pollution, to your biology, it's freaking out. It's like it's never been exposed to this, but we still go about as if we, are living day to day in this arguably foreign world to ourselves. And if we can integrate some of these natural systems, like feet on the ground to get, free electron stream to earth your body, take out the inflammation, drink this ideal form of water. Breathing, if you add the breathing system in while you're doing meditation and stuff, you're amplifying these natural systems, and it really makes a big difference. It might seem like such a simple thing like water, but every day taking in these profound minerals and antioxidants, you really do combat the onslaught of stress, which is probably 99% of people are stuck in this fight and flight response.
Absolutely. And ongoing as well.
Yeah,
according
as you
to
would
that
see
research.
in clinics and
absolutely.
stuff.
I think we need to talk about the stress side of things, but I also want to touch on the cognitive aspects and improvements, because I remember when I started using the breathing machine and you're like, I want to hear about how you feel in terms of like clarity and brain fog and those sorts of things. And sometimes it is a bit hard to know because we do multiple things at one time when we're not feeling great. So like women, especially as they're moving into their mid-40s and beyond, they start to claim things like they do feel foggy and they are inflamed. And it's hard to know, we often do a magnitude of things all at once and then just feel better. And you're like, I don't know which one of these things. And that was certainly the case for me. I don't think that my brain fog was long lasting because I very quickly went, oh, hang on a minute, I don't want to feel like that. What's that? What else can I put into my toolkit? But the breathing apparatus is one of those things. What have you noticed, or what has been the feedback, or is there research around cognitive function as well?
The fact that it can perfuse through the blood-brain barrier is a profound feature of the gas, because a lot of antioxidant supplements, things like that, they usually need to have an amine molecule bonded to them to be able to get over that blood-brain barrier, and the brain operates almost on its own blood and these various aspects. So if you can get into brain tissue and allow that cellular voltage, being the mitochondria spinning up as an engine, if you can boost every single cell, the general just operation of your brain is dramatically improved. So therefore now your brain electricity, which is your brainwave states, are harmonized. And from that harmonization, you get healthier transhemisphere firing, you get a increased brain operation, clearness, memory, thought. These are accessing all different sort of brainwave states. And if you're also just in high beta all the time, being this stress state, you don't have the ability to step down into these other states. And that can affect sleep. It can affect your quality of life because you're literally foot on the accelerator, foot on the brake full time.
This probably also extends to, I'd said to you before we started recording, I'd seen a lot of people anecdotally reporting that their children who had were neurodivergent or diagnosed ADHD, various variations of the spectrum, had noticed that it had been quite remarkable in their children. And I guess it's because of these reasons.
Yeah, so you've got pretty much like sometimes there could be stress occurring, no matter where it might be, but particularly it might be in the brain or the nervous system. And a lot of the times, some of these children, you may notice extreme effects occur when they're taking in ultra-processed foods, glyphosate-ridden stuff, and because their biology is so amplified and maybe not as harmonized or resilient as potentially average person. Doesn't necessarily mean either way, but the molecular hydrogen is going to have this incredible benefit at the cellular level, and then therefore the whole nervous system becomes more coherent.
Right, and calming.
And that brain-heart coherence, and pretty much now we know it's brain, heart, and gut all have a neural activity, all have high-density neural potential, and because of this molecular hydrogen, it really improves like many aspects from synaptic firing to the ability for brain cells to grow with one another, create these neural links, and you're going to have this incredible onflow of various disease models or conditions have their own specific benefits, but because they're working at this cellular level and it knows where to find this stress, it knows how to upregulate these various signals, it's almost a degree of providing the cell what it needs to come back into a homeostasis, which is a balanced state.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's often hard for people to wrap their head around this, but I will always say your body knows what to do in the right environment. Unfortunately, all those factors that you mentioned that are upsetting that equilibrium, those factors that feed into, stress, light, all the things that you mentioned are taking it further away from its normal operating state. And therefore illness in various forms, diseases in various forms develop as a result of that. What I love about this is that what it's trying to do is really, it's almost like rearranging the furniture in the cell, right? It's sort of like giving it what it needs, and then the body goes and does the rest. It's not medicine as such that's changing how, something actually operates. It's just creating the right environment. Am I right there?
It's truly holistic. So it's working at the molecular level or the atomic level. It's working at the cellular level. It's working at the organ system, and it's working at the collective organism and its connection to the earth. And what's so special about that is when we're in a state of stress, our body thinks it's fighting a bear. And so from that, you're flooded with cortisol, you're flooded with adrenaline, your body's ready to fight. It doesn't care about like getting sick at the moment, immune system drops, all this stuff, because that's the biological response to stress. But it may just be your boss shouting at you. And like that's crazy, because if you can't resolve that stress and it occurs periodically and it just compounds, your actual entire biology still thinks it's fighting that bear. And everything is dysfunctional from that. There's different techniques, you can use meditation and breathing and these different things. But what's so special about this is it allows your body to come back into that alpha brainwave state and allow that parasympathetic nervous system to now re-regulate blood pressure and nerve pathways and general cellular functions, immunity, memory. Like it's this huge thing. And I think stress is probably one of the most incredible things that I've observed as one of the biggest kickers towards quality of life, but also the opposite end being chronic health and diseases that occur from that. So if you're taking in chemical impurities, so something like the shower is a great example. If you're in the shower and a lot of the water systems are purified with chlorine, if you're now turning on the heat in summertime, in wintertime, and you want to warm the shower up, you're vaporizing everything in that shower. If there's, heavy metals, but, chlorine, but then also like, all these forever chemicals and endocrine disrupting stuff. So it's like there's a lot in the water and it's so easy for that to come in. But just chlorine, for example, if you're breathing in that chlorine that's been now vaporized, that's having a free radical attack because it's trying to become balanced through ripping electrons from your cells. And you get these inflammatory conditions like dermatitis and psoriasis and stuff like that. And we just had one of our friends who, natural health lady, and she's very switched on with all this different stuff, but she installed the shower filter, loved it, had it for 11 months, 12 months. We recommend like that 9 to 10 months, like make sure you swap it. Anyway, it gets to the 12 months. She'd had periodical dermatitis every year. Like could have been because she's turning up the heat so much, but maybe your body's also under stress. And then from that shower, got all dermatitis is gone. Like never in 20 years had she had this occur. All the dermatitis goes, lets the shower filter run too long, comes back, and then changes the cartridge again, and it's relieved. And that was just one really cool example of where, is your shower water that big an issue? Well, it really is. All the water you consume each day is probably one of the biggest toxin inputs to the average person because your skin and your lungs are sponges. So anything in that water you're absorbing. And if that water was good, that would be awesome. So you could have trace minerals in there, you could have vitamins, and you could have this nourishing hydrogen infusion. So every day your shower is this effortless beauty boost to your body, both for skin but also on a cellular level. And I thought that was a pretty wild one. You can smell the chlorine, and especially when you travel sometimes, some towns are worse, you become more sensitive to it. But that was the second step from the bottle was it's not just what we drink, it really is what we shower in.
I think people logically put together, oh yeah, I'm in a shower and that's going on my skin and I'm absorbing that. But I don't think they think about the inhalation.
Yeah.
And I think the inhalation's probably, equally as bad.
Yeah. Hence you have an extractor fan,
right?
To try help.
Right. But so to your point, it's one thing to put the right type of water on your skin, but it's another thing to be breathing in these, chlorine and whatever else and what that does, especially under the environment of a hot, steamy, perfect environment.
Yeah.
I wonder if you had one factor taken out, like, I don't know, it's interesting to be able to test that, but you kind of can't.
Well, people love to spend a lot on skincare, and understandably, because a lot of skincare, especially if it's natural, might have, potent sort of compounds, plant-based stuff. The thing is, if you've just been in the toxic water from the shower, the skincare is only just going to be able to kind of help for the amount of damage that occurs. So usually shifting that shower water, especially for anyone that's suffering any sort of skin-related or inflammatory conditions, and as you mentioned, even with your son, like to breathe chlorine or, in some regions it can be heavy metals or agricultural pollutants, you're a sponge. You're just absorbing it all through your things. So that's where something like adding the trace minerals and the vitamin C and stuff really gives you that boost. And it's just in terms of a profound anti-aging aspect, it's getting to the dermis level, supporting collagen and elastin production. And sometimes within only a few weeks, various trials are showing 2 to 3-fold increase in collagen production. And then for aging, for a wrinkle, if you can rehydrate those skin cells, bring them up to an energy state where now they can run in a homeostatic balance, plus add those nutrients to these key fibers or key aspects of that skin, being the elastin and collagen, the structure and the rubberiness of the skin, it's pretty awesome skincare.
That's amazing. I mean, what doesn't it help with then?
I think it's not a one-stop shop. It's about restoring the natural environment that we're in. As you mentioned before, we really are somewhat like houseplants, And so it's not a pill, it's sunshine, it's water, it's grounding yourself. These are all natural systems that the planet uses to boost all life. And if we're not part of it, doesn't end well for humanity.
Where does water like this occur naturally?
Yeah.
Like, what are we comparing it to?
Yeah, so natural springs
Yeah.
are a perfect example. Like a great example is even just the onsens in Japan, which are these hot water pools that come up from the volcanic. It's taken hundreds of years for that water to trickle down, picks up trace minerals, infuses those minerals. Pressure creates this energy, creates this hexagonal form. And when you're in those natural pools, it's insane. Like you're recovered in an hour from a whole day of snowboarding. That's not just...
Have you tested that?
Yeah,
Sounds like you have.
Yeah. That's how you go for a few weeks, you know. It's also like the Roman baths in England, and various cultures have given huge value to the beauty of what a specialized natural form is. Waterfalls, like kids just love water, you know, like
Right.
We've got quite a lot of young kids in our family at the moment, and just seeing how much these cousins are drawn to water supplies. You know, they want to be at the beach. They want to be by the waterfalls. And these
It's so true. We used to joke, I remember when the kids were little and they'd be like totally losing it, and you'd be trying to get them in the bath and they'd be like, I don't want a bath. And then you get them in the bath, I don't want to get out of the bath. This is the best. Like, but we even know as adults, I mean, I know that my best ideas come when I'm in the shower.
Yeah.
I've got to try and remember them when I get out. Like it's like, oh yeah, and you know, we're going to do this and we're going to do this, and you'll get on I'll get on a call with my team, and I'll be like, so yesterday in the shower, you get these downloads from spending time. I think it's the ions and everything.
Yeah, and I think like even something like these natural, you know, pretend you've been at a waterfall or these natural pools of water, you'll notice how soft it is on your skin, how soft and hydrated. And that's just one. Whereas if you were to go to potentially, I don't know, an outback mining town where the water is very high with scale and mineralization and, you know, it's very oxidative, you'll feel your hair. Like it'll almost break the keratin fiber. Like
then there's Adelaide water.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad.
You know, so arid and harsh, and you get in that scale come in, and that's why a lot of, you know, communities would live around natural water supplies, because it is the breath of life to those regions. And I've definitely enjoyed the different natural systems of water, and to be able to bring that into your home. Because it's a lot of things, you know, it's watching the morning sun light. You know, you could have your phone not being used at night or too late, and you're not getting the blue light. And I think this is just the idea of understanding our biology a little bit better, so we can make really clever and easy, you know, like you can work hard to like smash it at the gym and all these things for your fitness. But like if you could just shift your water, now your body is so much further out of the stress state that it was taking on every day. Sometimes get that morning light, you know, allowing all these signals to be switched on and aspects like that. And essentially this is what the molecular hydrogen is supporting as well, as these natural pathways, and which is also what the products are trying to target. They're trying to target this effortless integration when you're in more man-made environments. And that can be on a plane, that can be, you know, showering in, what you're putting on your skin in the morning, you know, when you're meditating and breathing or watching telly or reading a book. You know, you're stacking these clever ways of boosting health.
Which are really quite effortless, really. I mean, for drinking water, you do that anyway. Well, hopefully you do that anyway. What I also love, and I think that's really important to touch on, is that well, maybe I should ask you this question. Is there anything that anyone needs to be aware of if they're taking any medications? Can they still like happily go about drinking their hydrogen water? Are there any interactions that people should be aware of?
The exciting thing is that the molecular hydrogen is completely non-toxic. And that was pretty special in terms of just getting various in the scientific world, getting things through lab trials. You know, tends to start out on like cellular testing and in vitro and in vitro, and also towards animal models and this kind of stuff. But because it's a non-toxic gas profile and has pretty well studied now, no adverse effects even at high concentrations, it allows for someone from pretty much, you know, almost a newborn to very elderly to be able to integrate it in their day-to-day life. The only thing would be like green juicing and certain powerful antioxidants to the body. It does accelerate the detox process. So it'd always just be a slow integration. but usually there's no adverse effects. It would just be your body's detoxing potentially too quick if you were drinking, 15.
So if you had too much of it,
you may get a headache.
I mean, too much of anything is never a good idea.
Yeah. Pretty awesome in that regard, to be able to, have your kids be able to shower, to breathe, to drink the water, to many models. And there's a lot of impressive research in so many disease models towards how molecular hydrogen upregulates, but essentially this antioxidant quality from, dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's. A lot of chronic health issues all have a reactive oxygen species issue, which is pretty much constant free radical damage, which we call oxidative stress. And so therefore, if you can help take out almost these fires, this oxidative stress, cool it down, take out these free radicals, allow for the cells to boost up, they help themselves. It's like you've been hit down constantly, and this person's helped to pull you up, and now you can actually get on with it. And so pretty special in that regard. Non-toxic, profound, specific signal modulator with this antioxidant ability to pretty much work at every cell level.
I mean, I like to always say that the medicine is the water in this instance. It's therapeutic.
Oh, yeah. There's special stuff going on with what water really is. Its ability to interface with electromagnetic signals within the body, and facilitating millions and millions of processes every day. Water is involved. So there is, I think, I guess that's where my focus is a little bit as well, is the appreciation and I guess understanding of water and how we respect it in its various levels. You can go towards Dr. Emoto's kind of stuff, and there's a lot of psychologists and various specialists now that have really showcased water and molecular hydrogen as potentially a lot deeper mental and emotional levels. And so allowing us to understand our emotional health and mental health really gives this another level to maintaining balance in this modern world. And dehydration is a classic issue. 1% drop in water volume creates chronic stress to the body.
And what percentage of people are dehydrated? I wonder.
Especially if the water isn't hydrating as well.
Exactly.
On top of that.
Exactly.
So fixing that water is a pretty special one for your family, for your own health. And essentially, you've got sickness and disease, and you start to feel better, and you optimize your body. But ultimately, it's quality of life. It's mental firing. It's memory. It's being able to sort of function really well into a very long age of life. A lot of, I think it's just interesting, the social model of, when someone's 80, that they're, becoming more sedentary and declining and, mentally sort of here and there, and especially getting into 90s and 100s. But there's been a lot of impressive research with pretty much longevity research towards telomeres and genetic health. And we always thought it was very much the nucleus, being the DNA within the nucleus, but the mitochondrial DNA is profound for switching on genes and what it offers to the actual health of your whole body. We always thought telomeres just decrease in size to the point they become dysfunctional and essentially you age, decay and die. But the incredible thing is that's not actually always the case. The telomeres can actually be protected, and what's also incredible in terms of molecular hydrogen is they ran a study with 70-year-olds and they were showing how pretty much after a 6-week trial of taking hydrogen water 3 times a day, and one other trial was breathing, they showed how in this one case group, there's probably more data to look at all different age groups, but their telomeres increased.
Amazing.
So they're having actual telomere increase by protecting telomere length and also improving the telomerase enzyme, which provides the lengthening to telomeres, which essentially is a very profound thing to be able to improve the telomere length, because essentially that's where the aging's occurring.
So for the person that doesn't know what a telomere is, you better explain what that is.
So they're the end caps on the chromosomes, and they pretty much provide a protection. So therefore there's no genetic errors occur through replication of cells.
And so I think also what research has shown with telomeres is, and this ties all back in together, is wherever you can reduce stress, they seem to recover, or at least not degenerate as much. So this is essentially what's happening here.
Yeah, exactly. And you're seeing, I guess, the hydrogen is just like the wow factor of stress and degeneration. And there was even a really cool one, because pretty much a lot of molecular hydrogen studies early days, in terms of like back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, it was very understudied in that period. It was more towards sort of the 90s onwards, especially in disease models and all this. But it was more to do with diving and gas mixers for diving. And I found this so incredible. So pretty much it was a US Navy SEALs operation where they were exploring human capacity, essentially. And they changed the air mix of their gas to 50% nitrogen, which is just neutral gas, nothing going on there, 2% oxygen, and 48% hydrogen. And that allowed them to breathe at extreme pressures where cellular function, body would die, but was able to overcome the stress of, think of like just millions of litres of water with pressure just wanting to kill you.
Yes.
And their biological function was able to still operate under this chronic stress state because the hydrogen is taking out the stress, and didn't need more oxygen. It was the hydrogen that provided that landmark study in that regard. And I guess it's just a really cool indicator of how that hydrogen is actually mitigating stress in this direct example. But it can be all different forms. It can be emotional, it can be chemical, it might be breathing fumes from, petrochemicals, and then that hydrogen being able to mitigate that. And then just the water, what water offers, for detox organs and, for liver and kidneys and spleen and all this kind of stuff. So that's another level of even just general healthy hormone health or cellular health, is just waste elimination. And so now you've got something that not only takes out stress, but it also upregulates all these interesting systems.
Yeah.
So very cool in that regard. And even stuff like allergies. A lot of allergies can be not only the allergen, which may be incorrectly being marked as foreign. Maybe it's like hay fever or, pollens is a classic example. But the hydrogen actually allows the pathways and these thyroid and these various histamine sort of pathways to be reharmonized. So they're not just smashing you with, like swollen face and all this stuff. Your body now is correctly tagging what is foreign and what isn't, because it now is out of this state of stress. And on a cellular level, it's not freaking out like everything wants to kill me. It's come back to this natural, more harmonic pathway, being this rest and digest alpha brainwave, vagus nerve dominated state, which is what you should be in 99% of the time. But we're 99% the other way. Yeah. And it's probably the biggest thing in health, I think, is stress and all its forms.
It speeds everything up in terms of like aging, disease, illness, doesn't allow you to sleep properly, doesn't allow you to detoxify properly, disrupts gut function. Like there's not a good thing that comes from stress other than being able to save you in a moment in time. Everything else is working against you.
Yeah. Yeah, which was profound for that period, because you had to run away from the bear. You had to be able to overcome. You had to have that function. But I think if we can come to the concept that our modern world is not the same as what we grew up in, biologically, 200,000 years ago sort of thing, we can then kind of make clever shifts to really get the best of both. Because there is many aspects of the modern world that are wonderful, but the natural health of it definitely has to be observed. And if you can kind of optimize those various inputs, water, air, the food you eat, the mental state you sit in, you can definitely overcome it.
Yeah.
For sure. And these are powerful methods as well, because we do need that power now to really keep in an optimal state. And like quite a lot of, there's other complementary therapies, and I'm sure you do quite a lot of them, from, your nutritional stuff to saunaing to cold plunging. It can be, sunshine, feet on the ground, reading, all these different things. And you can integrate some of this stuff while doing those. So it's just amplified.
I think those stacks really, it's just another thing that you can add to the stack.
With like sort of what it offers directly, you're not having to go so far out of your way to try, there's a lot of different stuff, but like, like IVs and different things, like they're quite invasive to a degree, where our focus is really, can we make it as easy and simple as possible, but still with, powerful health benefits, and integrate that. And so essentially our various products lie where you got the bottle, the shower filter, the skin mister, which is awesome because you're getting so deep into those collagen elastin stuff. And then we have a whole house system, which we'll be launching very soon, and the bench top, which is
my favorite.
your hot water, your teas.
It's so great. In the morning, it's like, don't have to boil the kettle, but I also know that my tea is infused as well. Like, it's structured. It's really great. I'm really excited for our listeners to be able to check out the whole range of hydrogen health products that you have, which is really exciting. And, of course, those that are listening, if they use the code NAT25, they'll be able to access that discount.
Yeah,
and
podcast exclusive.
Absolutely, just for those listeners. But you can go to the show notes, check out the link and make it easy. Click through and use that code, and you will be well looked after and get all your needs met there.
Yeah, that's the fundamental thing that we focused on is, yes, there's incredible research, there's incredible things all in the world at the moment, but the true first-hand experience is enjoying the research, understanding, making the decision, but then first-hand experiencing it. What is your personal shift that occurs? For me, it was energy lift, profound energy lift, and like from energy, you can do a lot of things from energy, but it can be, inflammation, it can be puffiness, it can be your overall appearance, energy, athletic recovery. And it's nice when you have these things that hit a lot of aspects of your life. And it's what nature utilizes, So I think, slowly integrating that knowledge as well as your firsthand experience is awesome.
Awesome. Well, Josh, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been so great.
Thank you. Yeah.
If you've loved this episode, then please go ahead and give us a rating and, of course, a review. We love hearing from you, the listener, so that we can bring you more episodes of what you enjoy. But I will say until next time, bye for now.